covering the Austrian expressionist Egon Schiele. The wonderful album by the Flaming Lips, Yoshimi Battles the Pink Robot.
All right, everybody, welcome to New to You Show. I'm one of your hosts, John Holt. With us again this week is
Adam Moerder.
All right, also with me,
One of your other hosts, Vincent.
And I'm Mary Varn.
Also a host. So many hosts this week.
It.
Good job, everybody. So, all right. Well, do we have anything that's new to us that we can speak of? Anybody? Anybody?
I saw that Superman movie.
What'd you think of the Superman movie?
It's hard to say. It was the best Superman movie I've ever seen, but you know that's like
Ever?
being. I think so.
Really?
I think that's being the valedictorian of summer school.
Wow.
But well, what Superman movie's better than that?
I didn't see it,
The
but-
first Donner and the second Donner.
No, watch them
Good,
again.
man.
No, they are not.
Love those movies.
Watch
They
them.
don't hold up, Keith?
Not at all.
It's just nostalgia.
Especially the second movie.
Wow.
Especially the second movie. And listen, I love those movies, but they're bad.
All right. I'll take your word for
Yeah.
Send your hate mail to...
it. Superman.
But the new Superman movie has a bunch of like silly plot holes and stuff, but whatever, it looked nice and
Yeah,
it was handled better than any other Superman.
we actually had tickets to see it at like midnight on opening night, and then we were super sleepy, and all the reviews came out and they were super mixed, so we just weren't motivated to
Everything
go.
was super.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were anything but seeing Superman.
More mediocre than a speeding bullet.
It's been hot. That's what's new. It's finally like gotten to be summer for some reason. I thought we wouldn't have to have it this year because
Yeah.
it seemed like it wasn't going to show
Thought you
up.
dodged
To that low ratings last year.
Yeah, man.
Cancel it.
So, but you know, it's nice and hot, so I'm sweating in my earphones. So that's what's new to me.
So if
this
you hear a dripping sound, that's the sweat dripping from my headphones onto the table.
It's all my knowledge leaking out of my brain.
Yeah, so if any other podcasters out there have any tips on how to podcast while also having air conditioners and fans running, let us know.
Maybe it's like sitting in a cold storage refrigerator.
Or go to the supermarket.
I think if we just
sit in the delis.
I think if we just hire people to have those big Egyptian fans fan on
Maybe
us.
mute so they don't make any extra noise.
There you go. That's
cool.
why you run this thing.
Yep.
Got the big ideas.
All right, Adam, what about you? Anything new?
Yeah, so last week I talked about my kittens being new to me. I also have a new job that I started 3 weeks ago, working at BuzzFeed and just kind of writing for the site.
So this week we are talking again about Seminal Works. Last week, me and Mater brought you 2 works, and this week Keith and Mary are going to bring you some works. So without further ado, let's get on with the show.
Mi fece svestire e mi mise su una sedia con le gambe aperte. Dovevo tenere solo le calze.
Yeah, so my pick this week is the Austrian expressionist painter Egon Schiele. He was known for his figure painting. He was around the time of Downton Abbey, but he was in Austria. He was
Yeah, he didn't make any appearances in the show, did he?
Nope.
no.
And maybe
Mary didn't
fingers
sleep with him
crossed.
and-
Well,
Fingers
you
crossed.
know,
He might still.
One of his one of
yeah.
his book or a series of his illustrations are called Masturbation, and you know my theory about the whole Downton Abbey
No, I don't.
situation.
Enlighten me.
So the whole idea is, but
Wait, is this gonna have any spoilers? for
no,
Downton
no
Abbey?
spoilers. The best part is going to be when they finally he's given sort of the keys to Downton. He's made it like the young Bates is going to be the guy.
Bates?
Yeah.
Bates' son, Bates' kid.
No,
Matthew-
Bates himself.
The Crawley or Bates?
Bates. Bates finally gets
Oh,
to
Mr.
be. He gets the
Bates.
key.
Mr.
He gets the
Bates.
because there's a certain point where the households are gonna just fall apart, and it's like, who is the guy? Like, all class breaks down. Who is my trusted friend and closest to me? Like, when this old dude is dead and this other guy is dead and blah 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 blah, who's left for him to hand the torch onto? Bates.
But his valet.
And so he's going to become master of the house. So they're going to go, you are Master Bates. And that's the whole thing. And then they'll just cut to Laura
And
Linney.
Benny Hill theme.
Yeah, like yakety sax for 2 minutes. Then Laura Linney cuts in and goes, "You've been watching Downton Abbey."
I'm Laura Linney.
Yeah, thank you for watching this ultimate show. And so that will be, my concept of where that show is going to go.
Yeah, I think you nailed it.
Yep.
I think you nailed it.
I nailed it.
Well, in the meantime, before that happens, Egon Schiele is across the channel over in Austria painting figures.
Now, let's just, this guy, he isn't a character in Downton Abbey. He's a real person who
Yeah.
really existed.
A real
he was
painter.
an artist.
Yeah.
He was a
what,
goat.
I'm trying to segue back to that.
In what time period? In what
Right.
time period are we talking about here?
Downton Abbey time period.
Yeah, but
The early 1900s.
He was born in like 1890.
Yeah, and he unfortunately died at the age of 28 from the Spanish flu, 3 days after his 6-month pregnant wife. So it was very sad. But he did have some success during his life, and he is just known for his provocative figure paintings. A lot of them are kind of almost contortionist or contorted, I guess, and I discovered him in high school, and I took a lot of art classes in high school and then continued in college. So he, as the melodramatic arty teenager, he spoke to me.
Yeah, I will say I also went to art school, and
Yeah.
everybody I knew in art school was like trying to draw in that.
There was
style.
it almost seemed like he was rediscovered at a certain point too, because there was
Possibly.
there was a moment where it's like, hey, these dudes aren't illustrating like this guy from this time period, they're illustrating from this guy from this time period. Now it seemed like he sort of had his bell bottoms or back moment.
I feel like the way I describe him to people our age is the like figures from the Tool videos, the band Tool, like those like weird claymation creatures, like are definitely remind me a lot of that. And the aesthetic of like even like Marilyn Manson and stuff like that. I feel like they were using a lot of weird like corpse like.
Yeah, in terms of animation and stuff, like maybe because if you're talking in terms of like a seminal work, maybe like Peter Chung, like the Aeon Flux kind of stuff. It's that like that sort of spindly, gawky,
sinewy.
Yeah, really like, and he uses some. I mean, he was heavily influenced by Schiele and doing the.
Yeah,
doing
I mean,
Peter-
just
in
if
the
you
Aeon
look at
Flux.
the figure paintings he did, and if you're at all familiar with comics or. I mean, I don't have any specific names. Maybe you do, John.
I'd
But
say-
you can just
well,
clearly
Keith,
see
you,
that
you can
it's
back me
a
up this, but
common-
maybe like Ted McKeever.
Ted McKeever, Kent Williams.
Oh, Kent Williams. Usually, probably some Dave McKeon line stuff.
Without a doubt, Dave McKeon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially some of the faces he did in the late 90s. Yeah.
Yeah.
But everybody has been influenced by this guy in, kind of illustrative figure.
Well, that was something
drawing.
too. So one of his contemporaries was Gustav Klimt, and there's an illustration that Schiele did. So Klimt was an Art Nouveau expressionist, and Schiele was a straight expressionist. But they were contemporaries. They both died in the 20s, I think. So if you look, there's
I
actually
feel like Klimt was before him.
Yeah,
Was
he
it-
started.
Yeah,
sooner.
he was a little bit older, so he was...
But you have these two guys who are both dealing with sexuality and this sort of like awkwardness of it in two very different ways. One is detail oriented and structured and like almost like Mondrian breakdown of color, and the other guy is just brutal naked sexuality. I mean, he's super provocative, naming his stuff masturbation, flashing, like he's naming his subject matter. Woman with raised skirt, and this is in the teens. It's turn of the century. This is a pretty austere time.
Yeah, he went to jail for a little bit too, like a few months or something.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, he's he has illustrations of young naked women, and it's like some of his more famous
it
works.
wasn't the age of the models or anything,
or just the fact that they're naked. It was
right?
more
I think it's more the almost pornographic posing.
Right.
They felt lustful. They
And
felt
they also were partially clothed and kind of flashing.
Sure.
Like they were pulling up their clothes to expose their genitals,
Yeah.
like that kind of stuff.
some of them.
Right. And
There
or
was.
or in a pose that, it wasn't like a drapery. It wasn't a classical pose. And what's sort of interesting and what I enjoy about these illustrations beyond the lasciviousness of them is that they don't have backgrounds for the most part, and the clothing is simple, and it's really all about the line, and the color is just really expressionistic and like just dashed on there. And
If you look at the paintings, that he almost sculpts with his knife or with his brush, whichever he's using at the time, around the muscles. They're just like really just scoured into these paintings because they're really thickly painted most of the time.
It comes off as it's really they are timeless to some degree. I mean, there's a coloration or whatever, but discoloration. But it's these paintings and these people are, except for now that everyone's fat and obese in America, they could be Egon Schiele. If they weren't if we didn't have rotund people now, there are no skinny people to draw like he drew.
Right. There's an Egon Schiele character inside of all of us.
Yeah, way deep inside, like 20
blubber.
Twinkies.
An interesting thing that you mentioned is that he often didn't paint a background. In fact, he didn't even paint anything often,
Yeah.
but except the.
It was like
the
a weird
character.
limbo space.
Yeah, so
the
he would
canvas would be
sometimes
blank.
outline some stuff, but then the rest would be raw canvas. And now, I mean, these paintings look so warm because of it, but when he painted them, they wouldn't have nearly been as yellow. The canvases have aged beyond the painting because of that. And it's created this nice kind of almost flesh tone colored canvas. Right. Another thing that I have always loved about his stuff is his hands are very stylized, but it's a style that I feel like also came back. But it led to certain people like if you ever look at Kath Kalowitz, her prints I feel like are a direct next step for his, in that hers are more storytelling, but using the very similar stylings of humans. And Lucian Freud, I feel coming back to, well, I don't know, is he I'm not sure where Lucian Freud was from, but his paintings feel a lot like a direct next step of, definitely influenced by Schiele.
Well, that's something too, is if you look at, this is kind of drawing back to the Klimt and Schiele thing. If you look at Standing Girl in Plaid, that illustration is he's playing with texture, but it's his own drawing. It's almost like Klimt falling apart kind of version. It's a painting of sort of a breaking Klimt.
The Schiele painting is called?
Schiele painting, Girl Standing in Plaid.
Oh, neat.
Or Standing Girl in Plaid. But that one, you kind of see where he was being possibly influenced, but I mean, both of those guys they catalyzed, that movement forward from expressionism into Art Nouveau. But yeah, you see that.
Yeah, definitely the use of patterns was both Klimt, was. I'm sure they're all drawing from similar sources that we don't even know about right now. But I will say, since I was such a big fan in art school, one of the first I went to art school in Boston. John and I both attended the Art Institute of Boston, and they used to have these day trips to New York to come to the museums. And I remember the first time I came to a museum, I went to the MoMA and went straight to try to find an Egon Schiele piece, and Edvard Munch too. Yeah, so.
And you took that one, right? That you wanted, the one with the face.
Well, that's what you're supposed to do at
He
museums,
was doing
right?
the Home Alone pose.
He's like,
yeah.
The one that,
Oh, it's hanging up in my house. You've seen it. I mean, I took it.
It's like nice.
Yeah. But
Is that still missing?
I think somebody said they chopped it up and it's gone now. Like it's probably got.
It's not chopped
No.
up. Somebody has it in
Dude,
their private thing.
They think they found like a thing. They think it got burned up.
I doubt it.
I think it's gone.
It's worth somebody black marketed that sucker.
Yeah, Putin's got it.
Yeah. It's in the guest room that Christopher Snowden or that Snowden is staying in. Not Christopher Snowden. I used to work with a guy named Christopher Snowden. Who's the guy?
You just blew Edward Snowden's alias.
Yes.
Wait, you're talking about the Scream, right?
Yeah. Just make it a gag. I think it's gone for good.
Well, there are several versions of the Scream.
Yeah, there's the one the Mona Lisa one that's
Scream
still
2.
hanging.
No. Yeah, that one doesn't have the lady from Friends in it.
Like Courtney Cox.
No, but the Scream, there were prints. He made like print version, painted.
Right.
There's a painted version. There was like a chalk version. I'm pretty sure.
Wow.
There were several versions of that, and just recently they brought to the MoMA one of the chalk versions.
Cool.
And it's there, and I'm probably gonna come pick it up next week too.
Yeah. So Moerder.
I'm just kidding. I didn't steal the Scream, y'all.
Yeah, he has an inflatable one from Spencer's.
Yeah. Bought it at the MoMA store.
All right.
So, Adam, being the only non-art studier here, were you ever exposed to Egon before we brought it to your attention?
I had a job where I just had a lot of time to kind of like surf Wikipedia and stuff, and I remember just saying like, oh, I need to do something productive with this spare time, and I would just go on the tabs on Wikipedia for every like impressionism, expressionism, blah blah blah.
Oh, neat.
And that's how I found Egon Schiele, and I don't know a ton about him. I don't know much about art in general, but I was like weirdly like I gravitated towards him in particular, and I actually at one point changed my profile picture to I'm not even gonna try the German, but like Death and the Girl or something like Toady Madchen or something. Changed my Facebook profile picture to it. Everyone thought I was like become insane and like suicidal or something.
You were a goth suddenly,
right? Because
Death and the Maiden.
Because his paintings have this very like to us like almost like an emo look to them or something, and it's like not. He's obviously working levels beyond that.
Though they based The Crow off of his body of work was Brandon
Lee.
The late.
Oh yeah, sorry. All due respect.
Yeah, too soon.
Sorry, y'all.
But yeah, so actually, like you picked the one of the few expressionist painters I'm familiar with, which is nice. But
Not James Ensor.
I have no idea who that is. Is that Ivo Shandor really from Ghostbusters? Like,
Yeah. This is not like Egon Spengler. But yeah. So would you guys say this qualifies as seminal?
Certainly.
oh, definitely. It was on the Wikipedia page as like early expressionist examples. So if that's not seminal,
so
I don't know
mine.
what is.
Yeah.
Wikipedia says it.
All
So
right.
do I.
Then it must be true. I think that like the more people say Wikipedia must be true as like an ironic statement, it is probably true nowadays that it is true for real.
It's more true than just listening to us.
I don't know. I think we got lots of facts.
Yeah, Wikipedia might say something different about what we said about the Scream painting.
Oh, what do they say?
Well, you just look it up and see at home.
But what do they say? It wasn't stolen?
I'm just skimming it, but
Oh.
no, it was stolen.
Yeah.
But it sounds like they have. I mean, like you said, there's different versions, but it sounds like they have it with some damage, but not.
Good. Bring it back.
There's a hole in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you
It's
20
because somebody
bucks.
stuck their mouth through and they wanted to be like, "Hey, Mickey, give me a wet, slippery kiss."
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not the Jersey Shore. It's one of those things you stick your head in and take a picture.
Now you could scream.
Do you guys remember that from Goonies?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
The artist Egon Schiele died pretty young. He was Mary.
We
you were
talked
telling
about
me,
that
but
already.
did you tell everybody about his sex life? that he had a mistress.
I don't know. Just look it up because
we're
he
we're
had
just
some
talking about
drama.
his paintings.
He had a lot of drama.
He had some drama. It sounded like he had some young girls in his studio and they were nude and he was painting them, and some of that might have been fine, but some of it might have been he was sleeping with them, and then I don't know. I'm not a reliable source of information on this. Sorry.
She's not a reliable narrator.
Yes.
No.
She's like Huck Finn.
Yep. So I would recommend checking out Egon Schiele. We'll put a link to some of his work. We'll put some pictures up of his on the Tumblr. But thanks, Mary, for bringing Egon Schiele to the table as a seminal artist.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mary.
All right. He is not new. He's dead. But he's nearly 100 years dead.
Dead to you.
Yep. But so he may not be new to you, and he's certainly not alive. But hopefully, it's new.
Cominciò a dipingere guardandomi nello specchio. Mi disse di piegarmi con indosso solo le calze. Poi mi prese il braccio e me lo piegò sulla testa. Restò a guardarmi attraverso lo specchio per lungo tempo senza parlare. Mi disse di abbassare le calze fino alle ginocchia. Continuò a dipingere.
Again, the topic is Seminal Works, and I brought to the table one of my all-time favorite records by the amazing band of the Flaming Lips, and the record is called Yoshimi Battles the Pink Robots. Originally came out in 2002, July. This is another reason I'm bringing up. It's almost the 11th year anniversary, which is odd because Holt brought up something that was the 20-year thing, and we didn't pre-plan it. It just kind of happened that way. But this album, there's not an awful lot I can say about it other than just listen to it. It's amazing. Some of the things that I feel make it a seminal piece is that I feel as though almost every record that was an alt record or indie album, whatever you want to call it, has definitely been influenced after this album came out. Every record that has happened since then, within a certain subset of music, has definitely been influenced by it. I feel like the Flaming Lips were known as being experimental for forever, since way back in the 90s when I was first introduced to them. But I just really feel like when this record came out, they brought new sounds, new recording techniques, new walls of sounds, new structures to their to songs that I just don't believe anyone else was even scratching the surface of. There were definitely a lot of artists like Beck and the Beastie Boys and I mean any number of really great albums at the time that were experimenting with these really full sounds, experimenting with electronic instruments, experimenting with drum machines, experimenting with interesting vocal layering. But I really feel like this record did it best, and still holds up unbelievably well. Still tells an interesting story. It's a concept record, and just like a couple weeks ago when I was talking about Dolly Parton, I can definitely make almost any record into a concept album, given enough time. But this album truly is a concept record.
I don't know. We're gonna have to talk about that.
I feel like it plays with a lot of themes, but listen to it. It's great. I feel like it sounds like it's from the future. I feel like it sounds like it's from the future from another planet. It's amazing. It takes such interesting out there themes as artificial intelligence, artificial emotion. What are we feeling? What do how people interact with one another, how people communicate, and then all culminates with the smash hit. I believe it was very popular when it came out. Do You Realize, which kind of just brings it all back to humanity. The whole album is an experimentation of mostly people's relationship with machines and alienation from one another, and then boom, hits you with the song "Do You Realize," that just brings it all back down and says it's kind of a Carpe Diem style song. Just don't don't worry. Do you realize you have the most beautiful face? Do you realize, it's just a simple, amazing song that so many of the books and things we've been talking about is just such simple prose, simple writing, but just hits you in the core, I believe, like a really great rock and roll song does. I really could spend a long time talking about this, but I'm just going to open it up to everyone else simply because I feel like you should just listen to the record. If you haven't already, and if you have, listen to it again. It's great for the summertime. And so, what did you think about this, John Holt? Do you think it measures up as a seminal piece?
I see. This is tough for me because this is their 10th album that they put out, and I remember Flaming Lips to me earlier on, Flaming Lips was like Tangerine, that or whatever their Vaseline was their the track that was playing on the radio. That was my first introduction to them.
I imagine
she
most
don't
people
use jelly, right?
Yeah. She don't need jelly. She uses Vaseline, and that song, I listened to their albums over the course of that period of time up until Soft Bulletin was, I would say.
Did you listen to Soft Bulletin when it came out?
Yeah. For me, I kind of think Soft Bulletin's their, people say it's their Pet Sounds or whatever. It's like the 90s Pet Sounds is Soft Bulletin. And maybe it's that what they had in that, it wasn't as much of a commercial success as Yoshimi, but it's almost like they applied what they were learning in their experiments
without a doubt.
First 9 albums into this album and said, all right, this is how you present a series of pieces of art for consumption so that people can relate to them and interrelate with them, that aren't playing around too many times, so that they aren't basically this is the most, I'm not going to say easily consumed, which I'm not, and if I do say that, I'm not saying it in
which Soft Bulletin or Yoshimi?
Or Yoshimi.
You don't think it's the easily consumed?
No, I'm saying it is.
Oh, okay.
I'm not saying that in a detrimental way. I'm saying that in a that is,
it's approachable.
That's the point of it.
Yeah.
To some degree, is that it is approachable, and that I think is one of the goals of this album. And I think they're successful in it, and that's why it's a huge success. I mean, they've pulled these tracks they use Do You Realize on commercials for years. They've been using it for years now. And what was the other thing? Well, that's something too. Wayne Coyne was said specifically, this is not a concept album, so there wasn't a concept built around it. But I mean, they're writing around themes. They're a band. They're packaging this for a reason.
Right.
So yes, it's not a concept album in that maybe they don't have a specific flow, but it's still a package, and it is a tight package. It's very well organized and structured, and I think they know what they're doing, and that's why it can be read as such. And I don't think that's a bad read. I mean, it's, again, just because they don't intend it as a concept album doesn't mean it can't become one or have been perceived as one at all. I don't think that an artist can't control their art to that degree as well. So
yeah, well, they can state what their intentions were.
Right, but their intentions can get away from them to some degree, and I don't think that's either a detriment.
Right.
One kind of note was that I had been listening to a lot of Cat Stevens before, in the past couple weeks prior to this, and then I listened to this album and heard the father and son connection with Fight Test, and then when I was researching the album a little bit, I saw that they actually were we used that vocal cadence, and that whole thing in the first song is father and son's vocal cadence, and they actually...
Which one, the Cats in the Cradle?
No, Father and Son.
The song
Father and Son.
Okay.
But we can check it out.
He claims he was unaware of the similarities, but they pay royalties.
Yeah, they pay royalties to Yusuf Islam for it.
Huh. Wow.
Like it was just sort of like a weird little situation. But I think it's probably like they said, it's probably an unintended influence, but it's pretty stark when you listen to that. But the song itself and it's the vocal melody and that cadence that is specific. The other stuff it's its own song, so it's very different and interesting. But yeah, I
Well,
really
I have to go
love
back
this
and
album.
listen to that. I can't
compare
imagine.
the two.
I can't think of that specific Cat Stevens song.
Yeah,
That's interesting.
we'll check it out, and I'm not going to put links up to it, but you guys should check out both of those too. It's kind of interesting. But yeah, I love this album. It's really good.
So this, I didn't introduce you to this record. Do you remember how you discovered it?
I don't know.
Or how
it came out in 2002. See, that's the thing. We were like, we were living together at the time.
We were living in
in Brooklyn here.
Yep.
So I'm sure that somebody brought it in the house and we were all listening to it.
Well, I
together.
definitely brought it. I was working at the ice cream shop when I first, and I'm pretty sure Daryl Blood, our good friend from art school, now lives in California. He's definitely one of the biggest Flaming Lips fans I knew of. In fact, I kicked myself because he invited me back in Boston to go see that Soft Bulletin concert where they had all the different boom boxes playing.
Was that between these two albums or was that before Soft Bulletin?
That was the tour that went with Soft Bulletin.
Because that might have been the album that preceded Soft Bulletin. I don't know, whatever. But
perhaps, you might be
they might have
correct
toured
about
on
that.
it,
Yeah.
so.
I had listened to Soft Bulletin before, but I guess I just really wasn't ready for it. And it's almost like when Yoshimi came out, I was like, oh, now I get it. I can go back and listen to that and it all.
Yeah.
But what did you think, Mary?
Oh, I love the album. I am really not familiar with the Flaming Lips and really haven't heard much of their other stuff. This is one of those ones where I heard it a lot and I just kind of assumed that it must have been out for a while or something, and so it surprised me to recently learn that it came out in 2002. I had thought it was earlier than that, just because, I don't know, I just thought, this is one of those things everybody knows about but me.
Yeah.
But I always love this album. I mean, the title track is always fun, but also just listening to it as a whole album is great. I guess there is a musical they're working on.
Well,
Do
see,
you know
this
much
is
about
this is
that?
what I was telling. Who was I telling to? I was
You're
telling
Murder and me.
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
man, why is there not a musical of this? So there is one that's coming out. is what
Yeah,
you're saying.
Aaron Sorkin was attached to it. I remember hearing about this, but then he,
Wow.
I guess he,
So somehow it's going to be about baseball too,
Or Facebook.
Yeah.
I guess he left when they decided that it was just going to be an entirely singing.
Oh, wow.
But anyway, if you look it up on Wikipedia, they talk a little bit about the plot, which I didn't realize.
Do you realize?
Yeah.
Did you realize?
That it's becoming a musical. So Yoshimi, I just think of her as, this like warrior and battling. But so this talks about how she is dying of cancer. Does that come through in the song at all? And that her battling is like, another.
It says she's got to be strong to
and
fight them.
Yeah, and she's battling the cancer.
Yeah.
So
Well,
Pink robots,
I'm kind of
like
disappointed to
cells
read
that are programmed, I guess, to kill your body or something.
Yeah.
Well, it's also too. It's the Yoshimi they're saying maybe referred to as one of the women who appears on the album. She's from a band as well. Yoshine something in a couple bands.
is she in that song where there's the? It's almost like it's a fight song too.
I think so. She's a female vocalist.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty cool.
What about you, Adam? When did you first?
Yes, since you bringing actual musical knowledge to the table here instead of our mad rambling.
talk. So I'd known about Flaming Lips before this album, but I don't think I had always this is like Napster days probably. So I had downloaded She Don't Use Jelly and probably like Race to the Prize or whatever that song's called from
Yeah.
Soft Bulletin. And actually, like, I had never, still to this day, Yoshime's the only album of theirs that I can usually would make it front to back listen to. Like, I think it's very solid throughout, whereas a lot of their other albums, for whatever reason, I just am not like as nuts about in a total sense. But yeah, this one I thought it like all came together and for them, and it, like Keith said, like it has a lot of, especially if you're not like if you weren't following like Aphex Twin and all those like electronic artists and stuff like that in the 90s, like a lot of these sounds were very new to you.
Yeah.
Even if you're listening to Beck, like a lot of this album sounded like pretty out there.
Which at the time I was definitely neck deep in Beck. Too,
Right,
yeah.
exactly. And it's funny too, because at this time, I think Sea Change came out in 2002 when Beck was like, all right, screw electronic music.
Yeah.
I'm going to do an acoustic album. So that was interesting. And I think also kind of related to that is this album, I think, came out on Warner Brothers. Is that right?
I think it was the same record label as Wilco was on at the time, right?
Or was it Merge or something?
Yeah, Warner Brothers.
Yeah, it was Warner Brothers, right? So it's funny, is like to me at this time, it's like this is when the schism between like what a major label band is and what indie is started to really crumble, because Flaming Lips had been around forever. They had been called like an indie band because basically they never had like that one big album, or they couldn't get like or a big single, because I feel like She Don't Use Jelly was really successful, and then they really couldn't get like a single for years after that. And all of a sudden, like, Do You Realize takes off. I think like Fight Test was big, and Yoshimi Battles the Pink Robots, the song Part 1 or whatever it's called, was big. And it's funny because like very shortly after this, you have the Shins like explode.
Yeah.
Modest Mouse, who'd been around for a long
Sufjan
time.
Stevens.
Sufjan, Spoon had been around since like 96, and they all of a sudden start like taking off, and all of a sudden it's just like, even bands like The Strokes, who are this like, oh, here's this young like underground band. It's like they're writing pop songs, and there's no reason that this needs to be obscure. Like I feel like they're weird like college radio bands who play like strange music, and you're like, I totally understand why this is not moving on a million units. But these are just, these bands sound like the Beach Boys, or they sound like Cat Stevens and stuff. And I thought that was an interesting moment, like kind of and like Elliott Smith is also getting like really, really popular at this point. And I thought this interesting moment where it's like, starting to understand that, I don't know, just the playing field leveling, I think, between these like mainstream acts and these indie acts. And I'm putting scare quotes around all these words. But so I think that's very interesting. And I think this album is like definitely part of that sea change, if you will, between those two.
Well, that's
periods.
What is that called? Because like Wilco is one of those. What is that called when you have a label on a band on a major label, and they don't promote it heavily? They just kind of like they're like they don't have to promote them heavily because they have their built-in base. It's like there's a name for that sort of band that's just
like a cult band, or like
not a cult band, but like a synonym to like steady, or like they're just
kind of
like,
take care of themselves.
Yeah, they're sort of like a constant to some degree.
Yeah.
For this band, I don't know the specific. There's a term for it, but like Wilco is considered that, where it's like they'll put out an album, they're gonna sell this level, they're gonna make this much money. It's a known quantity. They only have to promote this much to get this much return. Versus,
but then when they do come out with Yankee Hotel Foxtrot or Yoshimi versus Yoshimi Bottles, it's big then, this weekend Wilco's playing a gig with Bob Dylan in Nashville. They're definitely beyond the just
But I guess what I'm kind of wondering is like, because record labels treat those bands like in Warner Brothers different than when they're promoting
the new Hop
Star X.
Yeah.
Right. Because that's someone they just have to throw money at, because it's
they know it's going to be a sensation for a little while.
Next group of people who aren't the people who get into the music and listen to this one band through. There's a bit of a different aesthetic to that, and I think like Wilco and some of those other bands were just on that, and maybe as there was people were listening to more stuff, downloading more stuff, maybe that also helped catalyze.
Definitely
The
the
awareness.
internet was.
Yeah, and I feel like Warner Brothers in the 90s had a good track record. REM was definitely on Warner Brothers. Green was their first album in like '89, and they had been on, for the rest of their career.
Their first record with Warner Brothers.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry. And oh god, I think Red Hot Chili Peppers were, but maybe not, or Jane's Addiction. I forget. But anyways, like REM and Flaming Lips are two, bands who had lots of success, especially REM, but
longevity.
And longevity, and we're constantly introducing these weird bands to the mainstream and trying to like. I mean, REM like helped boost, Nirvana, like Dennis Johnson,
Space Hog.
yes, like all sorts of just like,
I don't know,
these like kind of
Radiohead.
Radiohead,
one of the first tours with Radiohead.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one of the first tours Radiohead did in the States was with REM.
Wow.
Yeah.
But it's funny you mention all those bands because it reminds me of the Flaming Lips. The first Flaming Lips album that I was ever exposed to was the one with She Don't Use Jelly. And
Transmissions from a Satellite.
My brother got it from the CD club kind of thing where you buy the buy one and you get 10 free or something like that. Yeah. And Columbia House, that's it, Columbia, I think. House, yeah. And in it we got the first Radiohead record, Pablo Honey, the first
terrible album.
Yeah, I think we got Radiohead. Automatic for the People. I liked Pop. I mean, definitely. Can I take my what is it? Can I take my guns to heaven or something like that? Yeah. I love that record. But anyway, that's pretty much all I can say about Yoshimi versus the Yoshimi battles the Pink Robots, which I guess is about cancer. Anybody else have any last minute things to say about it?
No, if you haven't listened to it, well, what have you been doing with your life?
Yeah, come on.
This show's about shaming you.
Turn off the rap music.
Get it together, man.
If we aren't shaming you into enjoying new things, and we aren't doing our jobs at New to You Podcast.
New to You Show, John.
Well, that's why I gave a different name, because that's not what we do here at New to You Show, where we encourage people to enjoy new things.
Well, that's my pick.
All right. Well, Keith, thank you for bringing us Yoshimi versus the Pink Robots from 2002. Battles the Pink Robots.
It's my fault because I've been saying verses.
Well, on my little
versus
note
the
sheet,
Pearl Jam album will be next week.
On my sheet, it's
Pearl Jam was in that record. It was in that batch too. Alive.
Yeah.
So my auto check called it Yoshiba. So versus
nice.
the Pink Robots. So that works. So anyhow, it should be on definitely on Radio. Is it on Spotify?
It's definitely on Spotify.
Awesome. Yeah. You can get it on iTunes. There's a deluxe edition that came out. If you want to buy a hard copy of it, go to town. It's a great album.
I think they re-released it on vinyl for the 10-year anniversary too.
July 16th and 17th in the United States is the 11th anniversary release of the album. It may not be new, but hopefully it's new to you. All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining us this week for a New to You show. I was one of your hosts, John. You can find me on Twitter at Lord Joho. With me this week was...
And still is Mary Varn. You can find me at NPC Comic and on Twitter at Mary Varn.
I was Keith Vincent and still am sometimes. And you can find some of my illustration and graphic design work at on my Tumblr site, earthlingkeith.tumblr.com. And
And I played the role of Adam Moerder, and you can find out more about me at my personal website, adammoerder.com. That's Adam, MOERDER.com.
And that's Adam, ATOM. No, it's not.
No, it's not. John.
JHN. So,
Jan.
so everybody,
It's spelled Adam,
thanks
like
again for
Adam
meeting us
and
this week. This was our second episode of Seminal Works. Hope you guys enjoyed it. This week we covered Yoshimi Rattles the Pink Robot, 2002, Warner Brothers with Flaming Lips. And we also did,
The Flaming
talked about
Warner
the,
Bots.
the early expressionist painter Egon Schiele, who does very sexy, dirty things from the turn
And
of
paintings.
the century. And he was on Downton Abbey.
He was on
With
Def Jam
masturbates.
Records.
Yeah.
Island Def Jam.
So it may not be new, but hopefully it was new to you. You can contact us at New to You Show on Twitter and check out the internet blog thing that has our pictures at newtoyoushow.com.
Bye-bye.
Such a question, there are many possible answers, such as hard work.
Feel I'm alone in this whole of existence. I know it takes time, but I'm losing my persistence. The distance is too far to fetch, so I sketch on pages and hope that some catch.